Welcome back. Did you know that Utah schools have a growing lunch problem that affects the school and the students? Let's find out more. Welcome Kalab Stokes from the Feed the Kids Foundation to the table.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Kalab. Hello, hello.
That is literally a mouthful.
Lots of things going on there.
Yeah, so tell me, how did that come to your attention? How did that come to be?
So a few years ago, my kids, I live in Salem, and so I'm working from home, and my kids call and say, hey, Dad, I forgot a piece of homework. Can you bring it to the school? And so I run it down, and I'm standing in the office and overhearing a conversation that's happening about negative school lunch accounts, and I just asked the question, is that pretty common? And they said, oh yeah, it happens more than you know, and that was pretty much it.
Okay.
And so that really stuck with me for a while, and I've always wanted to try to find ways to give back to the communities and stuff like that, and it just stayed with me, and when COVID happened and school lunch became free, no one had to worry about it, but we weren't really addressing any issues. And so I started the nonprofit 2 years ago, yeah, here we are.
I think that says a lot about you as a person, that you see a problem, because a lot of people, maybe there's other people that overheard it or people that are in there, but then no one does anything, but here you are doing something about that.
Yeah, and look, there's lots of people that can qualify for a free lunch or maybe even reduced lunch, but we're talking about the families that are just outside of that, qualifying that with the price of things going up, and
or maybe they were doing fine before everything, and now everything's just so much higher.
Yeah,
and incomes haven't really changed as much.
Exactly. So we're trying to find solutions and answer the problems that are there, and not just pretend they're not there.
So where can we go if someone's wanting to find out more or make a donation? Tell us where should we look?
So our foundation is Feed the Kids Foundation, and that's the website too, feedthekidsfoundation.org. There's a donate button there. You can donate there. You can do a one-time, a monthly, a reoccurring donation. We have corporations that partner with us that donate on a monthly basis as well, and we take those funds and turn around and give them to schools and help those families that need it the most.
Wow.
I remember even when I was a kid, because my parents struggled, and I remember when they would say, like, I would see the negative lunch number, and I was so stressed out. Even as a kid, I can still remember how stressed out I was, even in elementary school.
Yeah,
worrying about.
We don't realize the stress, that the unintentional consequences that when we put the stamp on the hand's kid, on the kid's hand, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
To remind them.
to remind the parents, but that's also like,
Telling all
hey.
your, do they still do that?
Yeah.
And do you still see the negative balance? Like as a child, you know that it's there?
You're told that it's negative,
Okay.
right? Hey, your account's negative. You remind your parents to put money in your account. And
What kid's going to go really home and tell their kid?
I mean,
They
mine
don't.
will every once in a while be like, hey, Dad, I got a stamp. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I'll put money in your account, right? But
Yeah.
if you're a family that can't afford that, I mean, that's hard, right? And a lot of kids will probably go in and wash the stamp off because maybe they're embarrassed
Yeah.
you know, because psychologically it plays a role too.
Well, it's not cheap. It's like $2.50 per day to, for your kid to eat lunch every
is
day.
it?
Yeah, and I mean, you don't even really, I guess, think about it per month or that much anymore, because there were the 2 years, I guess, that it really was free. I mean, there were the grants for a couple of years. You're like,
And it didn't matter. Anyone could eat then.
Right, right. So you weren't really thinking about it, and my kids didn't even really complain because, why would you take a lunch from home? Because it was provided, it was free.
And did no one literally ever paid?
Not during COVID. Yeah.
There was a grant, and it was provided for free for those 2 years. So then when you registered for school again in the coming year, it was kind of a thing. You're like, wow, so we have to start paying for lunch again. And then, $2.50 every day starts adding up, and you have to start refilling the lunch bucket per se.
So the cost has gone up to $4 for breakfast and lunch.
Oh, correct. Yes, if you want to do both.
Lunch is just like $2.50, but if you want to do both, it's up to $4. Which you think, $4 is not that much. But
right.
But every day.
When you have 2,
And
3,
multiple
4
kids.
kids going to school,
And is that just elementary or is junior high and high school?
it's the same price for all of them.
Well, maybe I should start eating at the high school.
Okay.
I'll call a friend. Do you want to go meet me at the high school for lunch?
You might not like all the school.
Well, and I've heard a couple of things as well, and I don't always know. I mean, the stamp or not, they're never going to be denied
Correct.
having food, right? But then I've heard certain, maybe different schools, I guess, that if they're not eating, that some are sitting at a different table and they are only allowed to have maybe a piece of bread and butter.
I don't know if
that's true or not, but
one of the schools that I've been around, but the lunch clerks that I talk to, I mean, look, they know the families that really need help.
Even still, if it accumulates over years and years and years, maybe if it gets to a certain amount, then they may not be able to graduate at a certain time.
Seniors,
correct?
if they have a negative lunch balance, they don't get their diploma until that lunch balance has been paid.
And then the parents are responsible
So
again.
how do you disperse then? So when you get this money, how do you figure out where it goes and how much?
Last year, our first donation we made was on behalf of a family who the dad had passed away from cancer, and they had 4 boys, and so I got notified and we called them and just said, hey, we'll go take care of this for you. And so that was our first check that we wrote to a school in Springville, and it just kind of grew from there. I mean, our first year of really collecting donations was last year, and we donated $10,000 to different schools here in Utah County. Helped almost 140 kids pay off their school lunch accounts. And you think, oh, that's a lot, $10,000. But then when the Salt Lake Tribune ran a news article in April of this year and said that we were $1.7 million in the hole for school lunch accounts for the whole state,
it
was
like a drop in the bucket.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it impacts those kids,
Right.
but man, well, there's so much more work that we can do to really take care of all the kids and families in the state of Utah.
So do you let the schools know? Like, do the schools know that there's this resource?
We're trying to get the word out as best we can, and that's why I'm grateful for you guys having us on and getting us the info out there to the schools that, hey, we're here, we want to come help. And
Yes.
so when we come in, we're here to help, and we really don't want anything more than just to be able to help those families.
What can you tell us about the food insecurity really helps learning and paying attention and being actively engaged?
If the family is having a hard time paying for school lunch, there may not be a lot of food at home too, right? So if the kid that needs school lunch, they're probably not getting dropped off early if their account's going negative, so they're maybe not getting breakfast. They're only getting lunch and maybe a little bit of stuff at home. They're pretty hungry when they show up to school. And if all you can think about is how hungry you are and you're looking at the clock, you're really probably not learning and paying attention, right? And then you go in and you eat all your food, and then the body sends you into a food coma type thing because it's trying to digest it all so quick, and then they don't really pay attention and they're falling asleep, and it's like, man, this kid just isn't
I'm like
the
that
perception
at an
of it, right?
If I show up at an event and I'm meeting you, but I can see my buffet over there, I'm like, speed it up. I want
some of that, right?
Feed her first.
Feed me first, and then I am much more engaged.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of us are like that, and even there's the the backpack programs. There's some kids that are going home with backpacks for the weekend. But I mean, I love this program, and I would love to help you raise awareness. And I mean, what are your goals? I mean, what is your
So we just launched on social media our back to school fundraiser. We're trying to raise $2 million.
Oh,
It's
Go big, go home.
I agree.
Go big.
And look, if we can take care of the whole state and all of the lunch accounts associated with that, why can't we?
yeah.
And maybe there's some people. Maybe people just need to know that there's a place that this is how I can help.
Right.
I mean, I'm even thinking an infinite campus. I mean, if I'm going in to pay for my kids, if I'm filling their, their lunch, account? Yes. If if there was an extra place, I could put in the extra $5 or $10, to this extra
That's true.
place.
Do you want to donate?
Yes.
To help other people
if there's a way to do that, I would love to do that.
That would definitely be up to the district, right? But
you can go put a plug in, right?
Right. Well, we're trying to we've been trying to get with the district too. So,
Well, we can help promote it. We're on our social medias and share the word. I love too that you can do a one-time donation or a monthly.
Yeah. And we are a nonprofit, so when an individual or a company donates to us, it is a tax write-off for people too. So if that's important to people, then there's that little caveat as well.
That
Because
is
we did get set up with the IRS and approved with them. So you're not just donating your money to some random group that, you know, right now we're doing about 90 to 95% of the donations get turned back around and donated to the schools, and just enough to
and it sounds
cover
like
the costs.
you're doing the research to see what families need it, because I did talk to a friend at the end of last year. She's wealthy, lives in Mapleton, and just kind of forgetful. She's like, oh, my son's account was up to $350 at the school.
Goodness.
I'm like, oh, holy cow, is that legal? And she has the means to pay it, but she just forgot.
And sometimes parents just forget. So that's why when we go into the schools, we sit with the lunch clerks and
do some
we kind of go through, and they know which families, like the situation we were talking about.
I just would want to
and
make
they're
sure.
like, no, they'll come in and pay it. We're not worried about them.
Okay.
But this family and this family and this family, you know, and they'll say, then they'll know. They'll be like, hey, this family's parent's really sick and hasn't been able to work, and you know, it's amazing. It's going to the lunch clerks is like going to the hairdresser, and you get all the barbershop or you know all the information. So
And there's some school carnivals coming up, so maybe we can put some plugs in for you.
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks,
This
Caleb.
is great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
There's more studio chatter coming up.